What's up, boys? I thought I'd show a little bit of C.J. Anderson in the Thursday game against the Panthers. Addison did pretty well with C.J. Anderson. Great pickup there, Addison. Anyway, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do some power rankings of all the teams. Basically, I can go on FantasyPros.com and I've input our league, and so it's giving me kind of an objective ranking of all the teams, so that they rank all the teams based on their stuff rather than me sitting here ranking them myself. So in 10th place, we've got Addison with the team name Big Country. Addison picked the Seattle Seahawks defense with his number one pick, and thankfully Fantasy Pros has him ranked with the number one defense there in the league. So he's got that going for him. He's also got Steven Gostkowski, also kind of the number one kicker in the league. So that's a benefit for Addison. Addison also has a decent amount of depth at running back. He's got C.J. Anderson, Devonta Freeman, as well as Thomas Rawls on his bench. So, he might be wanting to trade those guys later for some value to make up for his kind of poor wide receiver core. And with a drum roll, I'll reveal 9th place in the power rankings. Oh, it's Team Weathern. This is Britton Weathern, a new addition to our league this year. Britton's team strengths are at running back, where he's got Lamar Miller and Mark Ingram. Who else does he have? I think his flex is Carlos Hyde. He's also got Rashad Jennings and James White sitting there on his bench. So not a bad running back core. Where Britton is maybe a little weak are his quarterbacks. He's got Matthew Stafford, who actually I don't think is that bad, and Marcus Mariota. So I kind of disagree with Fantasy Pros here. Britton's got a pretty solid team. Surprised that he's ranked 9th, but not a bad team. So, yeah. In 8th place, surprisingly, we've got everybody's favorite from last year who fell to the Dark Lord himself in the championship. That would be me. But in 8th place, we've got Cody, team name Maxed Luckstat. Cody's strengths, according to Fantasy Pros, are tight end and running back. He's got Ezekiel Elliott, Doug Martin, pretty awesome running backs there. He's also, of course, he's got Martellus Bennett, a great running. No, actually, I mean his real benefit is Rob Gronkowski there. His other running backs include Woodhead and Sims, kind of backups there. But yeah, so Cody's got great tight ends, great running backs. His wide receivers are okay. T.Y. Hilton isn't necessarily a top 5 wide receiver, but he could do well this year. Yeah, we'll see what Cody does this year, coming back from his loss and second place finish last year. And coming in at 7th place, we've got Luke's team. Fantasy Pros thinks his name is Cody's mom, but actually Luke has just changed his name to Simeon Toast Crunch. That's actually a fantastic name. I think Fantasy Pros, you should probably get moved up to 3rd or 4th place, just as a result of that name. But Fantasy Pros has ranked Luke's main strength as wide receivers. At wide receiver, he's got OBJ and Sammy Watkins. Notice that I didn't say ODB. I'm getting it here, fellas. He's also got Michael Floyd, a darling from last year, one of my favorite players. Could be good this year, could break out. Luke does have Le'Veon Bell in suspension, and but he's got D'Angelo Williams in there as well. So Luke's strengths, wide receiver, his tight end is apparently also good. He's got Delaney Walker in there, not a bad tight end. And then finally, Luke's got Drew Brees at QB. Could do very well this year. Drew Brees is really consistent season to season. And he's also got Kirk Cousins, and who the hell knows what's going to happen to Kirk this year. He could be great. He could be shit. Luke ended up in 3rd place last year, and so did well in the playoffs there. In 6th place, I'm really surprised this team isn't ranked lower, but we've got Tanner's team, Ginger Banger Redbush. Tanner's strengths are listed as running back and quarterback and his defense. I mean, that's kind of a crapshoot, but running backs, Todd Gurley and Eddie Lacy, those were his first two picks, I think, or maybe first one and three. But really good running backs there. Gurley could be the number one. He's ranked very highly going into the draft. And his QBs are Russell Wilson as well as Matt Ryan. Wilson could be amazing. He was great last year. He was on track in Wilson's last 5 games of last year. He was on track to score like 52 touchdowns in a season or something like that. We'll see what the Seahawks defense decides to do, or Seahawks offense decides to do this year, whether they're going to switch to throwing the ball a lot more like they did at the end of the year there. Yeah, that's Tanner's team. In fifth place, we've got Nick's team, Halibut Lives Matter. Great team name, very creative. Probably second place so far. First place is still Luke's. Cody's is definitely a classic, though, as well. So, anyway, interestingly, Fantasy Pros has Nick's best positions as defense and tight end. Um, they seem to weight those things more than they should be when ranking, and so take these ranks with a grain of salt, obviously. Nick's defense is the Broncos. I'm not going to say the Broncos are bad, but the Broncos are definitely good. Hopefully, my point is clear. He's also got Travis Kelce in there at tight end. I also really like Nick's. Actually, Nick's got a pretty solid team. He's got Carson Palmer, Adrian Peterson, Matt Forte at running back, and his second QB is Andy Dalton. Those guys could all do very well. His wide receivers are strong young wide receivers, Allen Robinson and Amari Cooper. Pretty solid team here. We'll see what Nick does this year. I should also mention that last year Nick was very close to making it into the playoffs, but unfortunately got barely beat out. Luke was tied with him in end of season record, but Luke had more points total on the year, and so Luke snuck into the playoffs, whereas Nick went into kind of the relegations or whatever. Anyway, moving on to fourth place as ranked by Fantasy Pros, we've got Tracy's team, Team Q Train. Tracy's team, the strengths here are Cam Newton. We saw him on Thursday play a good game, even against the Denver Broncos. Really quality defense there. And he's also got Tyrod Taylor. I'm a big fan of Tyrod Taylor this year. His stats were insane. A lot of people don't give him a lot of credit, I think, maybe just because he's on the Bills. But last year's touchdown to interception ratio was really good. Tyrod runs a lot on the ground. So I think Tracy could have a pretty solid QB core there. He's also got David Johnson and Ryan Matthews, notable at running back. He's got Mike Evans in as wide receiver one. Mike Evans is kind of a risky pick here, but I like it. I have him in another league. Evans could be great. He could also, who knows? He could also drop a lot of balls. Maybe Vincent Jackson takes his spot back. Who knows? But yeah, Tracy's got a pretty solid team here. I really don't like this pick, but what are you going to do? Yeah, that's Tracy's team in fourth place. Moving into third place, we've got Fef's team named I Bang Cody. Pretty classic name there. Just all around quality name. I realize I probably could have put everyone's pictures in here, but I'm lazy and don't want to make more videos, so I'll do that in the future, I guess. Anyway, Fef's strengths here, as listed by Fantasy Pros, are in quarterback. He's got Aaron Rodgers, as well as Derek Carr. Pretty strong quarterbacks there. Carr's got a nice schedule for the first 4 games. I was trying to steal Carr from Fef with Spencer Ware. I was trying to trade him early, but Fef was resolute, and I applaud him for that. Fef is going to struggle at the beginning of the season, though, because his running backs are he doesn't have a ton of depth. And unfortunately, Jamal Charles is probably out for week 1. Who knows how long that injury is going to bother Jamal Charles. So Fef is currently in his starting lineup, has 2 running backs from the same team. We'll see how that goes against Cody in week 1. And then in second place, we have Vivek's team named Team Bazagar. Vivek's team is strong, definitely in wide receiver and QB. In his wide receivers are Antonio Brown, Keenan Allen, and Dante Moncrief, as well as Demarius Thomas and Julian Edelman. So pretty stacked there. Dante Moncrief has been talked up by a lot of analysts as going to have a breakout year this year, possibly. Also, his quarterbacks are Roethlisberger and Andrew Luck. So really strong there. Could probably in competition with Tracy, I'd say, for best QB core, or perhaps Fef there also has some good quarterbacks. Vivek did punt a little bit on running back. You can see that Fantasy Pros has his running backs ranked pretty low here. But in with this new scoring system, we'll see what happens with the QB flex. It'll be interesting to see. I like the different strategy here from Vivek. And then coming in at first place is my team, Dax out for Teddy. Of course, I had to use the site that ranked my team first in terms of power rankings. I lied when I said I was being objective. No, it was actually just kind of convenient. It worked out. I use Fantasy Pros for my rankings, so I drafted it kind of according to their rankings, so it kind of makes sense. Anyway, I did kind of go really hard at wide receiver early. I've got Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, and Brandon Marshall. So I'm pretty my team's pretty strong there. I've got Jordan Reed at tight end, ranked as the second tight end by a lot of analysts. We'll see what happens to him. If he gets injured, I could be screwed. But I did kind of punt at quarterback. I'm a little weak there. I've got Bortles and Robert Griffin. So we'll see. I hopefully Griffin lives up to the hype, doesn't get injured. Then he could be a steal. But we'll see. Yeah, anyway, that's just the quick and dirty of the teams this year. I wanted to just go through